The thumbnail of today's video isn't clickbait. I am terrified, and I'm going to tell you in today's video exactly why. I'm also going to run through what my market strategy is right now, considering altcoins are selling off quite hard. Is this a buy the dip opportunity? Should you be waiting for post-election? That's also something we need to discuss. It's the election. It's just a matter of days away, and it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest event for liquid markets and specifically crypto for the year. It's probably even more relevant for crypto considering what did happen under the Biden administration with Gensler, which impacted the regulatory framework of crypto obviously a lot more as it's a nascent industry compared to other liquid asset classes, for example, equities. So there's a lot to unpack today. I want to basically give you a broad overview on the market and how I'm feeling just a couple of days out from the election, what I'm doing in terms of am I going risk on, going risk off, and just discussing what the potential outcomes could be with a Trump victory, with a Kamala victory. And yeah, we're going to unpack all of that today. If you do enjoy these videos, make sure you do smash the subscribe button down below. Click that post notification bell so you don't miss a single video. I'm going to be uploading religiously this week, pretty much every day, keeping you updated with the market because it's going to be a volatile week. That's the first thing I want to say. I did say this a few days ago, well, it's actually like a week ago and 2 weeks ago, that you should be expecting volatility. So to stay away from leverage heading into the election, that's exactly what we've seen. Price action has been extremely choppy with a deviation above the range high, all-time high fake out, liquidation cascade coming back down into the range. That is the definition of choppy market conditions. So I will be here over the next week because the chop is likely to continue and I want to make sure that you are prepared to navigate that chop. Hopefully, if you have been watching these videos, you're not overly leveraged because I've been saying stick to spot. One thing I've also been saying is don't buy altcoins only on major dips / liquidation cascades, which you do get in these environments. That's something we'll discuss today, whether I think the current dip constitutes a dip buying opportunity. I'll run through my strategy there. Just on the TA side, before we get into things here, I want to just quickly explain why the market has sold off so heavily, why altcoins are bleeding versus Bitcoin, and why the price action looks like this. Basically, what you got was an impulse to the upside, deviating above range high. Basically, what a deviation means is it's something away from the norm. So the norm has basically been, we've been chopping in this range, making lower highs and lower lows. We did start to form a series of higher highs. That is still intact. So the new uptrend reversal on the lower timeframes is still intact. However, what did start to break down was the clearing of the previous high at this level here at 69K, because we've now tucked back under both the last high, the high before that, and also the range high that you can draw via drawing a diagonal parallel channel to the downside. We've also started to break below that. The weekly chart also doesn't look great right now for Bitcoin, but the reason why we did get this massive move to the upside and then a move to the downside is basically a lot of late longs came in and basically longed the market with leverage. Open interest started to really build to its highest levels that we've seen all year over the last week. And because of that, people were going risk on into all-time highs because people always go risk on into resistance. And then what ended up happening was the market ended up having a liquidation cascade where we saw a lot of altcoins especially get wiped in terms of long positions, 232 million over the last 24 hours to be exact, which resulted in a nasty dip on many altcoins, but specifically the ones that were highly over-leveraged. And we can see this over the last 24 hours. Ethereum, Doge, Solana, Sui, WIF, and Nero, Tia, Pepe. These were some of the longs. Mudang, which is a newer meme coin, Popcat, Tau. These are some of the longs that people were levered up on. Now, I hope none of you got liquidated because I've been very, very vocal over the past couple of weeks about staying away from leverage. And I still believe you should absolutely stay away from leverage for at least the next week, if not the next 2 weeks. Because as we'll discuss later, even if a certain candidate wins, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be smooth sailing, and it also doesn't necessarily mean the market will do exactly what you think it will. So we'll discuss maybe what will happen in the event of a Trump victory or a Kamala victory in just a few minutes here, but TLDR, stick away from leverage, please, because it is a volatile and choppy market, and you don't want to get chopped up. I did this tweet earlier today about Bitcoin last week, looking all hot. It was like the sexy asset, and it was at 68K versus this week where Bitcoin's not looking so hot and maybe isn't as attractive. Same price, 68K this week, 68K last week, but it's significantly more unattractive because you have obviously we've got a taste for bullishness, right? And then you have a lot of altcoins selling off. So 68K this week, I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel as good as 68K last week. It really feels like, in my opinion, every global market right now, especially crypto, is like waiting in anticipation for this election outcome. The anticipation is like completely palpable. I am myself feeling pretty nervous just because I feel like we got so much riding on this election. I'm not going to go out and overtly say that if Kamala wins, it's the end of crypto, but what it is it's certainly much more difficult for crypto from a regulatory standpoint. I think the path of least resistance for all of us, I think we can unanimously agree is a Trump victory here, just in terms of price performance. Obviously, there are many other factors that go into it, but I think the market knows this, and that's why the market has been so correlated to a Trump victory. So I want to show you a stat that pretty much summarizes, I think, what the market will do in the event of either one of them winning. You can see here, right? The Trump odds are in the red. The Kamala odds of victory, according to Polymarket, are charted in the form of a line graph here in the blue. Bitcoin is below, mirrored on the exact same time scale from October 6th to the current date on November 3rd. And you can see the Bitcoin price action looks like a mirror image, a spitting image of the Trump odds. It's absolutely insane. Every dip, every crevice, the general trend, which was pumping into a Trump 67% chance of victory, now which is dumping into a 55% chance of victory, and Bitcoin subsequently dumping, it's mirroring pretty much exactly the same. This, to me, shows me that the market's number one prerequisite right now for bullishness is a Trump victory. It's pretty hard to argue with the data. Every time the market feels more confident in a Trump victory, alts are performing well. Over the past few days, Kamala has been performing better off the back of increased betting volume for Kamala and polls in favor of Kamala, which has shifted the tide a bit. Now, Trump is technically still the favorite, not just on Polymarket, but also on betting markets. He's around $1.80, which suggests he is the favorite. So probabilities-wise, he's still going to win. However, it is tightening, and it's now coming closer and closer to a genuine 50-50. And the markets hate this because markets hate uncertainty. They like certain variables. So because it's a 50-50 race right now, we are seeing this sell-off most aggressively in altcoins because people are waiting for the election outcome. Now, I got a question before on my Twitter, someone saying, Miles, why are altcoins selling off so aggressively? Why is Bitcoin not selling off as aggressively? I mean, it's quite simple. If you are holding a lot of exposure to crypto, what's the simplest way to de-risk exposure to the market? It's by selling altcoins. Altcoins are basically a levered bet on Bitcoin and a levered bet on market sentiment. So if you want to de-risk against a potential outcome like Kamala winning that you don't want, you're going to sell altcoins. It just makes sense to de-risk ahead of the election if you're in that position, right? If you want to de-risk. So no wonder alts are performing worse than Bitcoin right now. It's really not rocket science. Like, this is to be expected, actually. With the Kamala odds of victory increasing, that alts go down on a higher beta than Bitcoin. That's also probably going to go the other way. If Trump wins, altcoins are probably going to really outperform Bitcoin and perform quite well. Now, to simplify it for you guys, honestly, how I'm feeling is if Trump wins, I'm expecting a Bitcoin pump. I'll get into the nuances here in a second. If Kamala wins, I'm expecting a Bitcoin dump and an altcoin dump. That's really my simple TLDR right now. Fabian, who's one of the analysts in the Mars High Club Discord, he says that a Trump win would lead Bitcoin to break to new highs and alts following, with Bitcoin dominance topping. This is his prediction. 1 to 2 weeks later. Always expect some early flush out of late longs, but generally the trend is up only into end of year, with others, aka altcoins, going to at least 300 bill. Others right now is at, let's just check it, 198 bill. So he's saying alts are going to go up 30%, which would see many alts 5 to 10x, right, if Trump wins. Kamala win equals Bitcoin Trump trade unwinds. I think a lot of people are speculating on Trump winning via Bitcoin, but obviously this is starting to get more priced out of the market as the odds are more 50-50. We get a leverage flush down to the low 60Ks. Others down to 170 to 180, potentially even lower, by the way. Then maybe chop around for a few weeks before ultimately grinding back up, because macro liquidity is more important than an outlook for the next few months is good. Next leg up potentially delayed until December, Jan. I would agree with this. If you want a general framework And obviously it's not exact, but just a general thought process framework for what the markets will do depending on who wins. I would roughly say it's this. If Trump wins, alts and Bitcoin rally into end of year. If Kamala wins, weakened altcoin and Bitcoin performance for 1 to 2 months. And then the market should realize that the macro situation is overpowering, in my opinion, still more important than whoever is elected, and eventually it will correct. However, obviously Kamala winning does introduce a bunch of regulatory headwinds. Trump has, I know he's kind of adopted pro-crypto as potentially a way to get votes, but he has been more overtly pro-crypto. And we know that his son has launched crypto projects and is really involved with DeFi. I really can't see a world where Trump is elected and he goes after these DeFi protocols like Gensler has been. I can see a world where Kamala's elected, where they go on Operation Choke Point 3.0 and they start clamping down on all these coins as being securities, and they drive, more crypto out of America and make it even harder for crypto to operate. And obviously that will have a tangible effect on alts. This all affects altcoins more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I think it's hitting 100, 200, whatever price target you have, irrespective of who's president. But I think it does matter for altcoins. I'm not going to bury my head in the sand here and say it doesn't matter. And that's why I'm terrified. So that's where the thumbnail of the video comes in. I'm terrified of Kamala winning. I'll be honest. I am probably like a few of you, a little bit nervous right now. I don't think the market's going away if Kamala wins. I still think crypto is here to stay. I still think altcoins can perform really well, but I just don't think they'll perform as well than if Trump wins. And I think longer term it introduces even more headaches. That's why the path of least resistance is a Trump victory, in my opinion. So now let's get into how you can actually position and what my thoughts are right now today. Am I buying in anticipation of a Trump win? Would I be buying altcoins anyway, not knowing who's going to win the election? Well, let's get into that right now. Because we can't speculate on who's going to win the election. Let's assume it's a coin toss, right? Trump maybe with the slight lead based on stats and the betting markets. But let's try and be objective here and try and position ourselves in the best way possible to maximize our EV irrespective of who wins. So I did this update in my Discord. You guys will know if you're in the Discord, I give lots of these regular updates. And this week, I'm going to be very active because of the volatility. So if you do want a bit of hand-holding this week, we have myself, we have Paradise, we have Fabian, who's a macro expert, who are going to be helping guide you guys through this period. I also have an AMA right after I upload this video, around the same time of uploading this video, where I'm going to be answering your questions live. We might even do a midweek live session because I expect it to be a volatile week. So if you're interested in that and us helping you navigate this period, I'll leave a link in the description below to the Mars High Club. It has been a very active few weeks in the group, and I anticipate it's going to be a very active next few weeks, especially if Trump wins, by the way, because that opens up a plethora of long opportunities, in my opinion, which we'll be posting a bunch of them. So if Trump wins, you'll definitely want to be a member of the Mars High Club. If Kamala wins, you're probably also going to want to be a member because we'll also talk about protecting your portfolio as well and how to actually trade in that environment. Do some pair trades open up, because DeFi tokens could perform badly if Kamala wins, just due to the whole narrative of Gensler and them going after DeFi coins and these, revenue earning coins. So is there like a hedge trade where you long Bitcoin, short DeFi coins as a little bit of a trade there? And if Trump wins, there could be a trade on the converse end of longing these DeFi coins, these revenue earning coins, because we do know that Trump is obviously going to probably enable that from a regulatory perspective. So it's very interesting. Lots of trades open up either way, depending on what happens. But generally speaking, this is my update right now that I gave in the Discord this morning. I don't always share this stuff on the show, but I thought it was relevant today, so I would give you a sneak peek into the Alpha channel here. I said the last few days of price action has been expected. We know that. We know it was going to be choppy, and we've also been speaking about a potential shakeout pre and post-election, with opportunities being created by that, with the volatility both ways. That's exactly what we got. We got a huge Bitcoin fake out pump to all-time high, which trapped late longs. This move was largely driven by leverage and open interest building up, and that led to a liquidation cascade, specifically on alts, as people started to de-risk as the odds of Kamala winning started to increase. In terms of where we currently sit, I'm still cautious, as you can probably tell by listening to me for the past, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, because there's many variables at play right now. Obviously, the biggest one being who wins the election. I still think Trump would be much better for price action in the short term, as I just discussed. Although I don't think it's a certainty that we moon straight away if he wins, remember, there could be a little bit of a shakeout to trap longs, like buy the rumor, sell the news type price action if Trump wins, and then a rally. So execution is going to be difficult. That's why I wouldn't lever up. But overall, a few weeks out, a couple months out from the election, I think a Trump victory will be good in terms of markets. I think it'll lead to something like a Trump pump, and it probably sets the stage for a desirable outcome for crypto holders. This dip, in my opinion, is a decent one to nibble. I've added to a few of my core positions. It's not a full-blown liquidation cascade like I alluded to last week, but it's sizable enough for me to add. Let me touch on this. I think Bitcoin has a strong chance of coming back to this 66.4 level. It's that key pivot point that we ended up forming as a base, as another higher low. I think we could come down here, make another higher low before we end up coming back up again. That is a scenario. I also think we could end up, I think this week is due for a bit of green into the election. So part of me is anticipating a bit of a squeeze up. But obviously, if there's any shenanigans during election day, we could see a wick down. That wick, I definitely want to be capitalized for. So the reason I'm not going full into DCAs right now is because I just want to be prepared for the event that we do get a major liquidation cascade. I've set a lot of limit orders across coins I'm bullish on. Across AI, across RWA. If Trump wins, DeFi is going to be a really good one in my opinion. So I've kind of started to set limit orders just in case that does eventuate. In saying that, I did make some buys today because I saw a lot of alts, especially the meme coins are really down. Like things like WIF, I think look good. Things like checks, which some of you like remember in the video, I said I would wait for a liquidation cascade. Well, it's not a full cascade, but you are starting to see better prices on things like checks. So if you wanted to add that to your RWA portfolio, nibbling today, getting that initial entry isn't horrible in my opinion. Like things like Tau, like strong AI coins, etc., all giving you better entries now. I'm not going fully into these coins yet because there is enough fear in me, as I'm discussing today, that I want to be a little bit hedged in the event of a Kamala victory, and I probably will want some stable coins. So I'm keeping around 30% in that event. I also think if Trump wins, we could see 1 or 2 wicks on the way up, potentially on election day, which gives us that buying opportunity. So even if Trump wins, I still want some stables. So I took some nibbles today because I think we might see a reversal this week. And it's a bit of a hedge against Trump winning in the sense that you probably want some exposure on that side as well, but not going fully crazy yet because I do think there could be better buying opportunities and I want a little bit of a protection still on the stablecoin front in case the election doesn't go our way. So that's kind of my TLDR on what I'm doing right now. Have plenty of limit orders set in case there are shenanigans around the election and we see some wicks. We'll be discussing it in the AMA today. So the AMA today, and it's probably already live, but by the time this video is going live, is going to be focused on positioning, answering your questions about specific alts. We'll get into some charts. We do this every single Sunday, and it's great to actually answer community questions. That's something that's also in the Mars High Club. Once again, link in the description if you do want to check out the Mars High Club. I think there's a lot of rhetoric right now, and I think it's largely valid around Pennsylvania being the major swing state that could potentially decide the election. Fubar says here, whoever wins the Pennsylvania election wins all. And I think there is some legitimacy to this, considering Harris has overtaken Trump in Wisconsin and Michigan. If Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada play out as Polymarket users predict, Pennsylvania will decide the winner. So that one is still in the balance. Of course, Polymarket is not necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's just a betting market. Yes, there is some statistical relevancy to it, but it's not 100% relevant, and obviously this is based on betting, right? Although one thing I will say is that Polymarket isn't the only market. I've seen some hate saying, oh, crypto degens bet on Trump. That's why Trump skewed on Polymarket. We'll also keep in mind the odds on Polymarket are largely reflecting other bookies, and people can hedge like arbitrage against multiple bookies. So if you go onto other bookies like Sportsbet, Bet365, these kind of websites, you'll notice the odds are very similar to what Polymarket is showing, which leads me to suggest that it isn't a complete, like, you know, not completely made up by crypto degens pumping like volume in there. In my opinion, crypto will go up regardless of who wins. I want to show you a couple stats behind this. As I mentioned, I just think the road there is trickier if Kamala wins. You see these takes going around, like if Kamala wins, forget about buying dips. It'll be your final chance to capitulate any bags you have and ride out the Great Depression of the 21st century. Don't really agree because I think the macro stage is set either way. They're probably going to print a lot of money. That seems to be the solution to all of the world's problems. Just print more money. Another factor here that you have to take into account is every US election, or at least since Bitcoin's inception, has actually been the lowest price of Bitcoin at that time. I mean, pretty much forever. At any point in the future. You can see this by Elio, actually. You can see you have these shakeouts around the election, and then after that, it just goes up only, depending on who wins. I don't know if that would be the case this time. Maybe for Bitcoin, 100%. But for alts, I think the only variable here that you have to consider is Operation Choke Point 2.0, which did seem to affect markets a little bit. So that would likely maybe stifle altcoin performance, but I think on Bitcoin it's definitely relevant that no matter who wins, you probably do see higher Bitcoin prices, and I would agree. In terms of total 3 charting, we have started to break down, so we've lost momentum. Technically still a higher low, but it does look like we want to target the 560 zone and come back down to this like mid-range point. That's just what it looks like if you want to track momentum. In terms of others BTC, we are also seeing that Bitcoin is definitely in favor right now. So I do think the market is kind of, as I mentioned, de-risking more so on the altcoin side, not so much on the Bitcoin side, which is resulting in the market dumping, but alts dumping harder. So Bitcoin dominance going up. And I think that is likely to continue for the next few weeks. Unless Trump wins, then I think we do see people pivot back into risk on and pivot back into altcoins. So that is pretty much my market summary right now. I don't want to keep you here for too long because that's basically the gist of it and how I'm feeling. I'm going to give you a market update probably every day this week, probably tomorrow, the day after. I might miss 1 or 2 days if there's no information. I only want to upload on this channel if there's actual quality information that I can give you. But I'm definitely going to keep you updated because it's going to be a fascinating week for crypto, not just fascinating, pivotal in many, many ways. And I hope that the election goes the right way for us because I think we all got a lot riding on this, and it feels like the most important moment of the year really for crypto. So fingers crossed. I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck in the markets. Stay away from leverage. And I'll keep you updated this week. See you in the next one. Peace out.